When Elon Musk recognized his childhood best friend serving drinks at his charity gala, he didn't see a waiter. He saw Aiden, the boy who had once helped him dream up his first computer game in a small Pretoria bedroom. The same boy who had walked away 25 years ago over what they now both knew was nothing more than a teenager's wounded pride. Do comment from where you are enjoying the story. The crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the ballroom filled with Silicon Valley's elite, but Musk's attention was fixed on the quiet efficiency of the man in the black server's uniform. Those eyes, older now, lined with years of untold stories, still carried the same determined focus he remembered from their youth, the same eyes that had once sparkled with shared dreams of changing the world. "Sir?" His chief of staff's voice barely registered. "The AI presentation starts in 5 minutes." "The server by the west window," Musk said quietly, his mind flooding with fragments of memory. Late nights coding games on a borrowed computer, wild plans sketched in school notebooks, and a friendship shattered by a misunderstanding neither had been mature enough to fix. "What's his name?" "Let me check." She tapped her tablet. "Aiden Chen. Started 6 months ago through the catering service. Excellent reviews from clients, but—" She hesitated. "But what?" "His employment history is scattered. Different cities, different jobs. Currently works 3 positions, catering here, morning shift at a diner, and night security at a warehouse." She lowered her voice. "He's been requesting extra shifts lately, almost desperately." Something in her tone made Musk's chest tighten. He'd spent years building an empire that touched the stars, but here was the friend who had once believed in those dreams before anyone else, serving drinks to fund God knows what necessity. "Cancel my next appointment," he said, watching Aiden skillfully navigate between tables, "and have someone follow him after his shift. Discreetly, I want to know everything. Where he lives, works, what's driving those extra shifts. Sir, about the presentation. This is more important." Their eyes met across the room, a moment of recognition that stretched like an eternity. Aiden's professional smile never wavered, but his shoulders straightened almost imperceptibly, the same way they used to when he was determined not to show weakness. Later that night, in the employee locker room, Aiden's hands trembled slightly as he changed out of his uniform. His phone buzzed with a text from his daughter. "Dad, hospital called. They need another $175,000 deposit by Friday to continue the treatment. I know it's impossible, but I had to tell you. Don't worry, okay? I'm still fighting. Love you." Aiden closed his eyes, his chest heavy with the weight of bills he couldn't pay and a daughter's life hanging in the balance. Through the window he could see Elon Musk stepping into his Tesla, surrounded by the success that could have been their shared destiny. But pride, the same pride that had torn them apart as teenagers, kept him silent. He'd find another way. He always did. What he didn't notice was the discreet black sedan that pulled away from the curb after him, or the fact that his simple reunion with an old friend was about to change everything. The morning sun hadn't yet risen when Aiden arrived at Joe's diner, tying his apron with practiced movements. His muscles ached from last night's catering event, but the breakfast rush wouldn't wait. 3 jobs, endless hours, and still not enough. Never enough. "Morning, Chen," Joe called from the grill. "Your girl called earlier, said she couldn't reach your cell." Aiden's heart skipped. He fumbled for his phone. Dead again. He'd been so tired after his shift he'd forgotten to charge it. "You can use the landline in my office," Joe offered, his weathered face softening. He'd given Aiden his first steady job when they'd moved to the city, no questions asked. "Take 5 minutes, family first." In Joe's cramped office, Aiden's hands shook as he dialed. Each ring stretched like an eternity until— "Dad?" Sarah's voice was weaker than yesterday. "Hey, sweetheart. Sorry about the phone. How are you feeling?" "Same old?" She tried to sound cheerful, but he could hear the pain she was fighting. "The doctors are talking about stopping treatment if we can't—" She paused, and he could picture her biting her lip, trying to be strong. "But hey, I had a weird dream last night. Remember those stories you used to tell me? About you and Elon Musk inventing games in South Africa? Aiden's throat tightened. Those weren't dreams, kiddo. We were just kids with big ideas. Then why didn't you say anything last night, when you saw him? He sighed. After his shift, he'd mentioned the gala to Sarah during their nightly video call, trying to make her laugh with stories about the rich and famous. He shouldn't have mentioned Elon. Some bridges stay burned, Sarah. Besides, he's got bigger concerns than old friends. If you're still with us, hit that like button and let us know in the comments what you think happened between these childhood friends. Now, back to our story. Meanwhile, in a sleek office tower across town, Elon Musk stared at the report on his tablet, his coffee growing cold beside him. "Run that by me again," he said to his head of security, Aiden Chen. Works 3 jobs, barely sleeps, lives in a small apartment in the East Side. His daughter Sarah, 19, diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia last year. Insurance maxed out. They're selling everything they own for treatments, but... The man hesitated. But what? The hospital's given them a deadline. Friday. Without a substantial deposit, they'll have to discontinue treatment. Musk leaned back, memories washing over him. Aiden had always been the proud one, even when they were kids. While Elon talked about his dreams, Aiden quietly made them possible, spending countless hours debugging their game code, never asking for credit. "Sir?" His chief of staff entered with another tablet. "I found something else. Before his daughter's diagnosis, Aiden was developing a revolutionary battery management system. The patents." She turned the screen toward him. "They're brilliant. Could revolutionize our Tesla power systems. But he had to sell them to pay for the first round of treatments." Musk's jaw tightened. All these years, while he'd been building empires, Aiden had kept innovating, kept pushing boundaries, until life forced him to choose between his dreams and his daughter's life. "Get me the hospital administrator," he ordered, "and find out who bought those patents." But before anyone could move, his phone buzzed with an urgent message. The words made his blood run cold. "Sir, you need to see this. Mr. Chen just collapsed at the diner. They're rushing him to Metro General. Apparent exhaustion and malnutrition. His daughter's trying to discharge herself from her hospital to reach him." Musk was on his feet instantly. "Get my car. Now." The choice between pride and friendship was about to be made for both of them. The fluorescent lights of Metro General cast harsh shadows as Musk strode through the emergency room doors. No entourage, no security, just a man in a worn SpaceX hoodie looking for an old friend. "Elon?" A weak voice caught his attention. A young woman in a wheelchair, hospital gown beneath a borrowed jacket, her face pale but bearing an unmistakable resemblance to the boy he'd once known. Sarah Chen. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly, approaching her. "Your father would be furious if he knew I left my ward." She managed a small smile. "But he's been carrying everything alone for so long. I couldn't let him face this alone, too. If you're still following our story, let us know in the comments if you've ever reconnected with an old friend in an unexpected way." In the examination room, Aiden lay connected to monitors, his face drawn with exhaustion. Joe from the diner sat nearby, clutching his friend's worn messenger bag. "Found his schedule inside," Joe said quietly, handing Musk a crumpled paper. "Been working 20 hours a day, most days, taking online engineering courses at night, too." He shook his head. "Man's trying to kill himself, working this hard." Musk studied the schedule, his throat tight. Between the 3 jobs, Aiden had penciled in study times, hospital visits, and, his heart clenched, call Sarah, marked multiple times each day, even during his supposed sleep hours. "The doctors say it's severe exhaustion," Sarah explained, wheeling closer. His body just gave up. She looked up at Musk, her eyes carrying the same determined intelligence he remembered in her father's. "He never gave up on his dreams, you know. Our apartment is full of notebooks, designs, innovations, ideas, but every time he got close to breaking through, my treatments needed more money." She pulled a worn notebook from her jacket pocket. He thinks I don't know, but I found this last week. It's his original design for your first game, the one you made together. He kept it all these years." Musk took the notebook with trembling hands. The pages were filled with Aiden's precise handwriting, lines of code they'd written together, margin notes about optimization. On the last page, a recent entry. "Sarah's new treatment $175K. Options: sell car, second mortgage, there must be a way." The monitors beeped steadily as Musk sank into a chair, the weight of 25 years of missed friendship pressing against his chest. All this time he'd thought Aiden had given up on their shared dreams. Instead, his friend had been fighting battles Musk couldn't even imagine. His phone buzzed. His chief of staff with an urgent update about the patents. But before he could check it, Aiden's eyes fluttered open. Two old friends stared at each other in the harsh hospital light. Before either could speak, Sarah reached out, taking both their hands. "Dad," she said softly, "I think it's time you two finish that game you started." Here's the next section, building on the emotional reunion. The silence in the hospital room felt electric with unspoken words. Aiden tried to sit up, but Elon gently pressed him back. "You always were stubborn as hell," Musk said, attempting a smile. "3 jobs? Really?" "Says the man who sleeps on his factory floor," Aiden countered weakly, their old banter surfacing despite the years. Sarah watched them, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I'll give you 2 a minute," she said, wheeling toward the door. "Dad, try not to be too proud to listen this time. If you're following along, drop a heart emoji if you believe in second chances." Once they were alone, the weight of their shared past filled the room. Elon picked up the notebook Sarah had shown him. "You kept it," he said quietly. "All these years. It was a good game." Aiden's voice was rough with emotion. "Our first real breakthrough. Until I ruined everything." Musk ran his fingers over the aged pages. "I was an arrogant kid, thinking I knew better about the coding structure. If I'd just listened—" "We were both young," Aiden interrupted. "Both stupid. Too much pride, too little wisdom." He coughed, and Musk quickly helped him sip some water. "Life has a way of teaching you what matters. Like working yourself to death for your daughter's treatments." Musk's voice carried an edge of anger, not at Aiden, but at the situation. "Why didn't you reach out? 1 phone call. And say what?" Aiden's eyes flashed with a glimpse of his old fire. "Hey, remember me? The guy who walked away? Mind spotting me a few $100,000? He shook his head. "We both chose our paths." "Did we?" Musk stood, pacing the small room. "Or did we let one argument about code architecture determine the next 25 years? He stopped, facing his old friend. "Your battery management system? It's brilliant. Could transform our entire Tesla energy division." Aiden's face fell. "The patents are now owned by Tesla." Musk held up his phone, showing an email confirmation. "Along with full rights to your recent innovations in sustainable energy storage. My team's been analyzing your work for the past hour." He sat on the edge of the bed. "You never stopped innovating, did you? Even between jobs, between hospital visits?" "Sarah needed me to keep trying," Aiden said simply. "She believes in impossible dreams. Wonder where she got that from." A knock at the door interrupted them. A nurse entered with medication, followed by Sarah being wheeled back in by Joe. "Perfect timing," Musk said, standing, "because I have a proposition for both Chen geniuses." He turned to Sarah. "How would you like your treatment transferred to our new medical research facility? Full coverage, experimental therapies included." Sarah's eyes widened. "But the cost—" "Consider it back payment," Musk cut in, looking at Aiden. "For all the brilliance I walked away from 25 years ago." He pulled out his tablet. "And as for you, old friend, how does Head of Innovation, Tesla Energy Solutions sound?" The monitors caught the skip in Aiden's heartbeat. "Elon, I can't—" Yes, you can, Sarah interrupted firmly. Dad, remember what you always told me? Sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting alone, it's letting someone help you fight. 2 weeks later, the Tesla Energy Solutions Lab hummed with activity. Aiden, still regaining his strength but now properly rested, stood before a whiteboard filled with equations. His old notebook lay open on a sleek desk nearby, its worn pages a stark contrast to the cutting-edge technology surrounding him. Through the glass walls, he could see Sarah in the medical wing across the campus, laughing with her nurses as they administered her new treatment. Color had returned to her cheeks, and yesterday she'd walked a full corridor's length unassisted. Still can't believe you installed a medical facility just to treat her, Aiden said as Musk entered the lab. Please, Elon waved off the comment. We've needed an on-site research hospital for years. Your daughter's case is helping us pioneer new treatment protocols. If anything, you're doing me a favor. If you're still with us, comment below about a time someone's kindness changed your life. The two men stood shoulder to shoulder examining Aiden's latest designs. The past weeks had seen them falling back into their old rhythm, Aiden's methodical brilliance complementing Elon's bold vision, just like when they were kids. You know, Musk said carefully, I found something interesting in the archives. He pulled up a file on his tablet. Our original game code, the version before our fight. He paused, a smile playing at his lips. Turns out you were right about the architecture. Would have been more efficient your way. Aiden laughed, then grew serious. We lost so many years to pride. Maybe, Elon agreed. Or maybe we needed those years. You needed to become the man who'd do anything for his daughter. I needed to learn that success means nothing without people to share it with. A notification popped up on both their phones. Sarah's daily treatment update. All markers showing improvement. Speaking of sharing, Musk continued, the board approved your patent buyback proposal. Full ownership rights returned to you, with Tesla maintaining exclusive licensing. Plus, he slid a document across the desk. Your name goes on the masthead. Elon Musk Energy Solutions. Has a nice ring to it. Aiden stared at the paper, his vision blurring slightly. Elon, you don't have to. 25 years ago, you offered to share credit on our game. I was too proud to accept. Musk's voice carried the weight of old regrets. I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. Before Aiden could respond, Sarah appeared in the doorway, walking slowly but steadily, her face glowing with triumph. Dad, Elon, look. She took another step, unassisted. The new treatment. It's working. Both men moved to support her, but she held up a hand. I've got this, just like you two finally figured out how to work together again. The next month passed in a blur of breakthroughs. The Elon Musk Energy Lab became the heart of Tesla's innovation, with Aiden's methodical approach transforming ambitious ideas into practical solutions. But it was after hours when the real magic happened. Two old friends, staying late, ordering takeout, and recapturing the enthusiasm of their youth. Remember this? Elon asked one evening, pulling up an ancient screenshot on his laptop. Their original game interface glowed on the screen, crude by modern standards but full of potential. Aiden leaned in, Chinese food forgotten. Blast from the past. Sarah's been asking if we'll ever finish it. Maybe we should. Musk's eyes held that familiar spark, the one that had launched rockets and revolutionized electric cars. Not just finish it, reinvent it, with everything we know now. If you're enjoying this story so far, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. It costs you nothing, but for us, especially in these early days, it means the world. Let's continue with what happens next. Sarah, now strong enough to join them for their evening sessions, rolled her eyes from her corner of the lab. Here we go again. Two tech geniuses getting that we're about to change the world look. You mock, Elon grinned, but check your phone. Sarah pulled out her device, her eyes widening as she saw the notification. Dad, your battery integration system just got approved for global implementation. They're saying it could reduce energy costs by 60% in developing nations. Aiden stood frozen, staring at his own phone as congratulatory messages poured in. 20 years of working in obscurity, of writing code between hospital visits and graveyard shifts had finally paid off. "Speech time," Sarah announced, holding up her phone to record. "Come on, Dad. Your millions of future followers want to know, how does it feel?" But before Aiden could respond, he noticed Elon had grown quiet, staring at his own screen with an intensity that usually meant either brilliant inspiration or serious trouble. "Elon?" Aiden recognized that look from their childhood. "What's wrong? Remember why we really split up?" Musk's voice was low. "Not the coding argument, the real reason." Aiden's chest tightened. "The quantum theory paper. Our hypotheses about parallel processing and consciousness transfer. The one everyone said was impossible." Elon turned his screen around. "Well, someone just proved our base equations were right. All of them." Sarah looked between them, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "What does that mean?" "It means," Aiden said slowly, "that the game we were really trying to create, the one that got us labeled as crazy, wasn't impossible after all," Elon finished, "just 25 years ahead of its time." Through the lab windows, the setting sun painted Silicon Valley in shades of gold and promise. Two friends who had once dreamed of changing reality itself were now equipped with the resources, knowledge, and technology to actually do it. "Dad?" Sarah's voice carried a note of concern. "What exactly were you two trying to build back then?" Here's the next section, revealing the ambitious project from their past. "It wasn't just a game," Elon said softly, pulling up old files on his laptop. "We called it Project Consciousness, a virtual world where human minds could interact directly with digital space." Sarah wheeled closer, her treatment session forgotten as she watched her father and Elon pull up diagram after diagram from their teenage years. "Everyone thought we were just two kids obsessed with science fiction," Aiden explained, his fingers tracing the old sketches. "But we'd discovered something. A theoretical framework for transferring human consciousness into digital space, even if only temporarily." If this story has captivated you so far, hit that like button and let us know in the comments what you think their discovery might lead to. "The code architecture we fought about," Elon continued. "It wasn't really about the game. It was about how to structure the neural interface. I wanted to push faster, take bigger risks. Your father." He glanced at Aiden with newfound respect. He insisted we needed to understand the human cost first. Sarah's eyes widened. "The battery management system, the energy solutions. You've been building the foundation all along, haven't you, Dad? The power infrastructure needed for something this massive." Aiden nodded slowly. "I never stopped working on it. Between jobs, during night shifts, I kept refining the theory, making it safer." He looked at Elon. "I saw what rushing into new technology could do. The early Tesla accidents, the SpaceX explosions, with consciousness transfer, one mistake could cost someone their mind," Elon finished. "You were right, and now—" He pulled up the latest research paper. "The quantum computing breakthroughs, your energy systems, my neural interface work with Neuralink, we finally have all the pieces." The lab fell silent as the implications sank in. Through the windows they could see Tesla employees heading home, unaware that their world might be about to change forever. "But why now?" Sarah asked, looking between them. "Why did the universe bring you two back together at this exact moment?" Elon stood, pacing with nervous energy. "Because humanity's at a crossroads. AI is advancing faster than we can control it. Climate change is accelerating. We need a way to expand human consciousness to solve problems in ways we never could before. To give people a second chance," Aiden added softly, looking at his daughter. "Like the one we got?" Sarah watched her father's face carefully. "The treatments I'm receiving, they're not just about curing cancer, are they? The neural monitoring, the consciousness mapping." Aiden took a deep breath. We've been testing components of the interface, making sure it's safe. Every improvement in your treatment has also been advancing our understanding of how consciousness works. And you agreed to this? She turned to Elon, surprise evident in her voice. I agreed to help save my best friend's daughter, Musk replied. Everything else, that's just humanity taking another step forward, like we dreamed about in that garage in Pretoria. Aiden stood at his whiteboard late that night, long after Sarah had gone back to her medical suite for rest. His hand moved swiftly, updating their old equations with everything they'd learned in the past 25 years. We'd need to go public with this, Elon said from his position by the window. No more secrets. No more hiding. The world's not ready, Aiden replied, not turning from his calculations. Remember the panic when you first announced Neuralink? If you're still with us on this journey, comment below. Would you trust technology to connect with your consciousness? The world's never ready for revolution, Musk countered, walking over to examine Aiden's work. But sometimes. He stopped abruptly, staring at the equations. Wait. Show me Sarah's latest neural scans. Aiden pulled them up on the lab's main screen. His hands trembled slightly as he realized what Elon had spotted. Her consciousness patterns, Elon breathed. They're already showing signs of digital adaptation. The treatment protocol we designed. It's not just fighting the cancer, Aiden finished. It's preparing her mind for the interface. He sank into a chair, overwhelmed. All these years I thought I was just working on theories, but every breakthrough, every innovation, was leading us here. Elon grabbed a marker, adding his own notations to the board. Your energy systems providing the power, my neural interface providing the connection, and Sarah's treatment proving it can work safely. The lab door opened and Sarah wheeled herself in, still in her hospital gown. I couldn't sleep, she said quietly. Not with what you told me earlier. She moved closer to the whiteboard, studying the equations with the same intensity both men remembered from their youth. You know what this means, right? Both men turned to her. If my treatments have been preparing me for this interface. She took a deep breath. I should be the first test subject. Absolutely not, Aiden stepped forward, paternal protection flaring. We need more tests, more safeguards. Dad, she interrupted gently, look at your own equations. The neural adaptation has to happen during cellular reconstruction. My cancer treatment created the perfect conditions. It would take years to replicate this level of preparation in a healthy subject. Elon watched the interplay between father and daughter, seeing the same determination in both their eyes. She's right, Aiden. Scientifically, she's the ideal candidate. He held up a hand as Aiden started to protest. But it's not my decision to make, not this time. The medical wing was silent except for the soft hum of equipment. Sarah sat in her treatment chair, now modified with neural interface sensors, while Aiden triple-checked every connection. The simulation will last 5 minutes, Elon explained, monitoring the systems. In virtual time, you'll experience about an hour. If anything feels wrong, anything at all, we pull you out immediately. Sarah nodded, squeezing her father's hand. I guess this is a little more exciting than our usual Friday night hospital visits, huh, Dad? If you're feeling emotional about this moment, drop A in the comments. We don't have to do this, Aiden said softly, brushing her hair back like he used to when she was small. The cancer treatments are working. We could just focus on getting better, Sarah finished. Dad, this is bigger than me. Think about what this could mean for everyone. People with locked-in syndrome could communicate again. Long-distance families could truly be together. Consciousness itself wouldn't be limited by physical bodies. Elon watched them from his station, seeing in Sarah the same fearless vision that had drawn him and Aiden together as teenagers. The systems are ready, he said quietly. It's your call, both of you. Father and daughter looked at each other, 20 years of shared struggles passing between them in a glance. Promise you'll bring me back, Sarah whispered, and for a moment she sounded like the little girl who used to make him check under her bed for monsters. Always, Aiden answered, his voice thick with emotion, no matter what. He stepped back, joining Elon at the control station. On the monitors, Sarah's neural patterns danced in complex patterns, already beginning to align with the interface protocols. "Starting countdown," Elon announced. "Neural interface in 5, 4. Aiden gripped the edge of the console, watching his daughter's vital signs. 3, 2. Sarah closed her eyes, a small smile playing at her lips. 1. Initiating transfer. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Sarah's body relaxed completely as her consciousness entered the digital space. "Neural patterns stable," Elon reported, his eyes fixed on the readings. "Consciousness transfer successful. She's in." On the main screen, data streamed in from Sarah's digital experience. But Aiden wasn't watching the technical readouts. His eyes never left his daughter's peaceful face, knowing that her mind was now exploring realms that he and his old friend had only dreamed of in their youth. "Time in virtual space. 3 minutes," Elon announced. "Everything's holding steady." Suddenly, every alarm in the lab began blaring at once. Neural patterns destabilizing. Elon's fingers flew across the controls. Something's interfering with the connection. "Get her out!" Aiden lunged for the emergency shutdown, but Elon caught his arm. "Wait, look at the pattern variants." He pointed to a streaming line of code. "This isn't system failure. The interface is adapting, evolving." On the medical chair, Sarah remained perfectly still, but the monitors showed her consciousness operating at levels they'd never predicted. The digital space around her mind was expanding, creating new pathways, new possibilities. "She's rewriting the code from inside," Elon breathed, watching in amazement. "The neural interface is learning from her patterns, creating a more stable connection than we ever designed." Aiden leaned forward, hope warring with fear. "How is this possible?" "Because she's not fighting it," Elon realized. "Remember what held us back as kids? We were trying to force consciousness to fit our parameters, but Sarah—" He gestured to the evolving patterns. "She's letting her consciousness show us how it wants to connect." The alarms slowly quieted as the system stabilized at its new operational level. Seconds ticked by like hours until finally— "Transfer reversal initiating," Elon announced. "She's coming back." Sarah's eyes fluttered open, and both men rushed to her side. Her face glowed with an inner light that had nothing to do with the medical equipment. "Dad," she whispered, grabbing his hand. "Elon. It's beautiful in there. It's everything you dreamed of, and more." "The neural patterns," Aiden started, but Sarah shook her head, smiling. "Not just patterns, Dad. Real connection. Real understanding." She squeezed his hand. "I saw what you and Elon were trying to build all those years ago. Not just a game or an interface, but a bridge. Between minds, between hearts, between possibilities." Elon checked the final readings, his voice thick with emotion. "The interface is stable. Better than stable. What she did in there? It's revolutionary." "No," Sarah corrected gently. "What you two did was revolutionary. You spent 25 years laying the groundwork, building the pieces, never giving up on the dream." She looked between them. "Even when you gave up on each other." The following weeks transformed everything. Sarah's breakthrough with the neural interface caught the attention of the global scientific community. But more importantly, her cancer treatments, enhanced by the interface's ability to optimize cellular reconstruction, showed unprecedented success. "Check this out," Sarah called from her workstation in the lab, now officially titled Chief Innovation Officer on her badge. She pulled up a holographic display of consciousness patterns from their latest test group. "Look how the interface adapts differently to each individual. If you've stayed with us until now, share this video to spread the message that sometimes our greatest setbacks lead to our biggest breakthroughs." Aiden and Elon stood side by side, watching their original teenage dreams evolve into something far beyond what they'd imagined. The interface was already helping locked-in patients communicate, allowing separated families to share real experiences across continents and pushing the boundaries of human consciousness. "You know what this reminds me of?" Elon said, studying the patterns. "That night in your mom's garage, when we first thought this might be possible. Two kids with impossible dreams." Aiden smiled, remembering. "Too stubborn to listen to anyone who said we couldn't do it." "Speaking of stubborn," Sarah interjected, pulling up her latest medical scan. "Look who's officially in remission." Both men turned, their ongoing debate forgotten. The scan showed clear results. Sarah was cancer-free. "The interface's cellular optimization protocols," Elon started, but Sarah laughed. "The interface helped, sure, but you know what really cured me?" She looked between them, having two brilliant minds finally stop fighting their past and start building the future instead. Later that evening, as the California sun set over the Tesla campus, three figures stood on the roof deck of the Elon Musk Innovation Center. Sarah, strong enough now to stand unassisted, raised a glass of champagne. "To second chances," she proposed. "To impossible dreams," Aiden added, thinking of how far they'd come from those desperate nights of multiple jobs and mounting hospital bills. "To friendship," Elon finished, remembering two boys in Pretoria who dared to imagine changing the world. As they watched the stars emerge, a notification popped up on their phones. The interface's first public trial had successfully concluded. Thousands of lives were about to change, all because two friends had found their way back to their shared dream. "You know what we should do next?" Sarah's eyes sparkled with that familiar Elon Musk determination. "We should finish that game you two started, but this time—" She grinned. "Let's make it something no one's ever seen before." Aiden and Elon exchanged glances, seeing in each other the same passion that had first forged their friendship. Some bonds, they'd learned, never truly break, they just wait for the right moment to transform into something even stronger. "Ready to change the world again?" Elon asked. Aiden looked at his daughter, healthy and brilliant, then at his best friend, finally back by his side. "Always." Above them, a shooting star traced its path across the sky, a reminder that sometimes the greatest journeys don't take us to the stars, but back to the people who help us reach them.